enjoy special anniversaries, their 25th, 50th, and 60th, with large family parties and elaborate displays which Mom loved creating. Mom kept their first grocery list as newlyweds, and for their 50th anniversary, filled a shopping cart with some of the same items purchased 50 years earlier. Mom had enlarged the photo of her and Dad as newlyweds for these parties, and we hung that picture in her bedroom. Lately, she would ask about that handsome young man who stood beside her in the photo. Who was he? Mom was a busy homemaker and housewife. She was able to be home with her young kids, sewed dresses for Gail and I, and matching outfits for our dolls. She was a Bluebird leader, and as Roger was in Cub Scouts, helped there too. She was active in Cinnabar PTA during our school years there and long after. Perhaps it was because she was a Cinnabar graduate too. She later graduated from Petaluma High School, the class of 47. Mom enjoyed crafts and counted cross-stitch. I shared this passion with her. Mom loved the Elam Church Bazaars and would work tirelessly to ensure their success. Mom liked to cook, but was happier to bake, especially cookies. She and Dad graciously opened their Skillman Lane home for parties, family reunions, holidays. I think of Thanksgiving, which Mom and Dad started hosting after her mother passed away in 1972. For the next 35 years, Mom would be up at the crack of dawn on Thanksgiving Day, putting a 25-pound turkey in the oven, only to have it inhaled by all of us at dinner so that we could go watch football games or go outside and play. The Thanksgiving holiday sometimes coincided with her birthday, November 22nd, and she was never bothered that her birthday played second fiddle. About 10 years ago, Mom and Dad passed the Thanksgiving torch to Spike and me, and I quickly realized I wanted to share the holiday hosting with Gail and Mike. The year before Dad died, Jan got into the act, and we were all together again in Santa Rosa. We've come to realize the tremendous amount of work and love that goes into that endeavor. Mom loved to bake cookies. When Dad had King's Corner store in the 1960s, Mom's cookies were placed in small boxes as thank you gifts for their customers. This tradition continued for the next 50 years, even though they no longer had the store. Mom perfected and made cookies for family and friends and gifted many with these treats during the Christmas holidays. As Gail said, Mom would bake all day, getting up in the early morning hours, and the month of December was always a good time to be around because there were always rejects that didn't make the platter. Though I make some of these cookies, I could never duplicate the masterpieces my mom created. I don't know who had more satisfaction from the cookies, whether it was Mom, the baker, Dad, who loved to deliver the cookies to family and friends, or those who received the delectable treats. Mom loved to read and enjoyed every Danielle Steele book ever written. She had a Danielle Steele library, and in each book was a sticky note indicating when she'd read it, sometimes a comment, and when she'd read it again. Most of the same books were read 5 or 6 times. Maybe this was a sign of her dementia beginning, not remembering she'd read the book and reading it again and again. It was a sad day when we learned that Danielle Steele no longer interested Mom. Mom had migraine headaches. She never knew when a migraine would occur and taught us children to work ahead so if a headache happened, we would be able to complete any task. Thank you, Mom. This is a lesson I'll never forget. Mom set a beautiful table. She had chosen the pink desert rose dish pattern, and these dishes were used throughout her life, not only on holidays, but as often as she could. Who knows where Mom and Dad got the notion that Gail and I may someday both want these dishes, and they did not want us fighting over them. So Mom and Dad began an endless and tireless search to have 2 complete sets of pink Desert Rose dishes, 12 place settings each, 2 of everything, 2 coffee pots, butter dishes, everything. All were adorned in the built-in china closet in the dining room. Their quest was complete, and Gail and I have gotten what they wish. And we won't fight. Thank you, Mom. Mom volunteered at Saks Thrift Avenue one day a week, Tuesdays, and enjoyed both the ironing task to which she was assigned and the camaraderie of dear friends. Mom was a quiet person who found pleasure in the background. She spent hours creating displays for anniversary parties, family reunions, Danish conventions, and church events. For family reunions, Mom organized walking tours at Cypress Hill Memorial Park and placed small American and Danish flags at the grave sites of family members who had passed. Those who could would gather before the family party and pay their respects to our deceased loved ones. Mom was proud of and loved her Danish heritage. She made able skiers, red cabbage, and medistical, and had a statue of the Little Mermaid in her front yard. She was a member of the Danish Sisterhood number 126 and performed with the lodge's drill team before the King and Queen of Denmark in October 1960. She had Danish paper hearts on her Christmas tree filled with peatlanok. And I remember Megan eating so many one Christmas, she got sick. Kelly and Rick's children, Jack and Haley, learned Ria Ria Rugga, a Danish folk song, as they sat and bounced on their great-grandmother's lap, laughing with delight. I found myself singing the same Danish words to my granddaughter Cameron this past Thanksgiving at Megan and Mike's. Cameron laughed and I cried. Christmas, such a magical time in our lives. Danish traditions prevailed, of course, and the Christmas pudding with the hidden almond always brought rounds of laughter as Dad had hidden almonds throughout the house for days before and would playfully produce them, declaring himself the winner of the Danish Mantelman. Mom would quietly smile. The Christmas tree stood in front of the large picture window, but on Christmas Eve had to be moved to the center of the living room so that we could hold hands and walk around it singing Christmas carols, just as Mom had done at her Bestema and Bestafa's house on Christmas Eve's past. This task, moving the fully lit and decorated tree, wasn't easy. Sometimes created a bit of chaos, but tradition always won out. We'd join hands, walk around the tree, and we sang. I think Spike thought we were crazy, and he videotaped this ritual for proof. Both Mom and Dad were blessed with large extended families, and Mom's love of genealogy led her to create the historical accounts of the Camerons, the Christiansens, the Iversons. She had written Jack's story and the story of her parents called the Asta and Ivan story, which she gave to her family members 2 Thanksgivings ago. I remember Mom sitting in the living room on Skillman Lane with her dad and his sisters, Tenda Anna, Tenda Ella, and his brothers, Uncle Art and Uncle Duke. She had a tape recorder going and was asking questions to prompt their childhood memories, which was later written as their story. She visited with her mother's sisters, Tenda Anna, Tenda Carn, Tenda Gerda, Tenda Ruth, and Tenda Betty, and Uncle Chris, and created their story. She was happy to give these stories to all family members and was humbled when cousins made memorial contributions to charities for her work. I asked Mom a number of times if she'd ever written her own story, and she never answered. After Dad died, Gail and I found a box under the bed in the guest room, and in it a big stack of papers called My Story, the Farmer's Daughter. There it was, Mom's autobiography, and it's yet to be shared with her family. You see, all these stories were handwritten by Mom, who then gave them to me to do on the computer, and I'd pass them on to Gail for final editing. Mom, we're still working on your story. 9 years ago for Mother's Day, we compiled a cookie cookbook with the story of Mom's baking, pictures of her cookies, as well as the recipes. Each of her children and grandchildren were asked to share what cookie they liked best. The medallia cake was a family favorite, and Roger's son, Jason, described them as, quote, custard-filled little pieces of heaven, unquote. Mom never said no when asked to make cookies. How many did she make? Who could count? It was interesting to see in all of her recipes there was no mention of quantities made. Perhaps this was because of Mom's love of the task and not being concerned with the yield. To Mom, it was just a batch of cookies. In December 2013, Mom and Dad left their Skillman Lane house to move to Sunrise, an assisted living facility 3 miles away. As Dad's prostate cancer metastasized throughout his body, he weakened, and because of Mom's dementia, she could no longer manage the household nor provide the care they both needed. We all realized they needed help, and the move was made. When Dad passed away in February of 2015, Mom returned to her Skillman Lane home, where she lived with Roger, and in-home health care. Mom was a lost soul without Dad. She wandered through the house looking for Jack. She wondered where he was, not remembering he had died. She'd be sad for the moment when told he was gone, forget the conversation, and carry on. This living arrangement lasted about 5 months until Mom needed more care. Dementia is a slow, progressive, heartbreaking disease. Mom's mind was slipping away, but her body held on. So once again, Mom left Skillman Lane. She was content in her new place until she wasn't. Mom did not understand she couldn't walk next door to see her sister Lily. She was mad that Dad wouldn't talk to her when she spoke to him. She did not remember our frequent visits. When we took Mom out, she was upset upon her return, saying this wasn't her home. It wasn't her home, and Mom wasn't the Mom we had known and loved, but she was still our Mom. In her mind, Mom was Nancy Alice Iverson. She questioned us about that Cameron name. For the most part, she knew Gail and I, but lately she'd be surprised when we told her we were her daughters. We would tell her stories of her life, her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren. We told her what a wonderful woman she was and how happy she had made us. Mom smiled when we spoke of her parents, Asta and Ivan, and her sister Lily, the chickens, the dogs on the ranch. She found comfort in song, and we found ourselves singing with her and finally to her. I wonder if this goes back to her childhood. You see, Mom's mother, Asta, had epileptic seizures, and Mom and Aunt Lil never knew if their mother would be okay when they came home from school. So my grandmother, Asta, would sing loudly at her open kitchen window, and the girls would hear the song as they entered the house, easing their fears. So we sang to Mom, and I believe our songs helped bring comfort to her once more. On September 25th, Mom fell getting out of bed and broke her hip. Gail and I made the decision for her to have surgery, being told she'd be an invalid in bed if it was not done. The trauma of the surgery was too much for Mom, and she did not respond to therapies attempted at Petaluma Post-Acute Rehab. Mom was released and passed away less than 2 weeks later, days before her birthday and Thanksgiving. At Mom and Dad's 60th wedding anniversary party, Gail shared one of the secrets to their long and happy marriage was a sense of humor, adding Mom had the sense, Dad had the humor. In the end, we learned that Mom had a sense of humor too, as we prayed. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I hope I get a piece of cake. That's the truth. So Mom, I say thank you for loving Dad and loving us as you did, for giving us a good home, for baking cookies and passing on the Danish traditions, for teaching us how to work hard and to work ahead, for showing us the love of family through your words and your stories, for being a beautiful example of graciousness and generosity, for always being there. May you rest in peace, Mom. You're home now. Thank you.
How wonderful. We'll join in singing On Eagle's Wings. It's printed in your bulletin on the insert. Now we'll have a few readings, and the first one is from Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Well,
Nancy's other favorite song. And I have the pleasure of reading from 2 Corinthians. Therefore, we do not lose heart. Even though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is being renewed day by day. For this slight momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond all measure. Because we look at what can be seen, but at what cannot be seen. For what can be seen is temporary, but what cannot be seen is eternal.
Not surprisingly, I'm going to go a little off script here. I think it's incredible that this church, the altar, you see Jack and Nancy's picture of their wedding. The church has not changed in over 70 years. The saying up there is, blessed are they that hear the word of God and keep it. And I think Nancy and Jack followed that. But what I was thinking about is, when they got married, they turned around, right here probably, and the pastor said, I present Jack and Nancy Cameron. So what I want to do right now is, I want you to clap for them as loud as you can. This is a reading from Revelation 21, chapter 1 through 4. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, See, the home of God is among mortals. He will dwell with them. They will be his peoples. And God himself will be with them. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more. For the first things have passed away. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks, God.
I remember playing in a cemetery that was down the street of the home that I grew up in, and it was a private cemetery. And we would play down in there, and we would make forts, and we would build things into the trees. It was a heavily forested area, but yet it was in the midst of all these townhomes that we lived in. And just we'd run through there, and when we were young and play, and not really thinking too much. It was kind of innocent naivety that we played in there. And then it occurred to me that then you age, and then it hits you about 20 that you realize what's going on there. You realize what's going on in the cemetery. It's this unnerving thing at 20, and maybe it still is. This idea that life here on earth comes to an end at a point. And it's something to be reckoned with. It's something that we all have to reckon with. This idea that there's this point that we live, and then we cease to live here. And I was struck by this when thinking about, I got to know Nancy only through going up to and sing with her and visit her up on B Street. And we sang Jesus Loves Me and Amazing Grace, and that's how I got to know her. And Psalm 23, I think. But it struck me when kind of getting to know her through family and through stories and these cemetery tours that she was a part of. And her prayers on the back of the bulletin here that she put together for the cemetery prayers that we opened up with as well. But I'm also struck by a couple of things that I've been dwelling in recently. And one of them said that in order for us to truly laugh, which is actually the word that Nancy used in her prayer, that talking about laughter, and thank you for those times that we have had fun and laugh. The quote goes from this Walter Brueggemann that in order for us to truly have laughter and truly have joy, that we have to experience grief, that we have to truly grieve. That in order for us to truly experience laughter and joy, that we truly have to grieve and acknowledge the painfulness, the unnervingness that is death and suffering and pain. It just seems to me that that was perhaps the life that she lived in, giving tours of cemeteries. That giving a tour of a cemetery is a different, walking through a cemetery is a different, as you're an adult, is a different place as walking in a cemetery and playing in a cemetery when you're 5 years old. Because it's this innocent naivete that turns into, hey, we really know what's going on here. We really, yeah, we're going to walk through the cemetery, and we're going to pray, and we're going to give thanks, and we're going to give thanks to God for laughter. But in order to truly get to joy and laughter, perhaps we have to grieve. But that also this sense that perhaps death informs life. As I'm sitting here, I think of my 2 young daughters and my 1 son, perhaps not not that different from your family structure, and thinking of how death here, how we come together, perhaps is meant to inform us in our lives. That we have these moments, just kind of brief moments. And what kind of trips are we going to take? And what kind of cookies are we going to bake? And how are we going to live out these precious moments that we've been given? The death informs life and perhaps gives us perspective, a reminder to live fully into the present and into our moments, and to let love be ever present and ever flowing in our lives and in our relationships. And then the last is this, and it's from Bishop Rick Jake. I'm not sure who that is, but he has said that hope is a gift. Hope is a gift, and hope is a choice. Hope is a choice. And I think in this moment, we're invited to receive gift, and we're also invited to choose hope. Remembering Nancy's life, remembering this moment, and living into this moment of the stories that have been shared, that to receive the gift of hope, and that perhaps it's also an opportunity in the midst of grief and in the midst of pain and loss to choose hope in this moment. Together we'll sing How Great Thou Art, and it's printed in your
Thank
You're invited to stand as together we will join in prayer. Let us pray. Loving God, we give you thanks for this day, for this time to come together in celebration, in grief. We give you thanks for Nancy and for her life. We give you thanks for her moments and for getting to know her and getting to love her. We give you thanks for all that came forth, the many blessings, the love that came forth from her life that touched family and friends and community. We pray that you would be with us now as we commend her to you. Give us a spirit of hopefulness. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Loving God, for this gift of life that you've given each one of us, we give you thanks and help us to live our days fully and well. Where there is error, redirect our way.